Thanks for sticking around. The Democrats had their state convention on Saturday, and with every convention, in every election year, you have changes to the platform, or certain things voted in, certain things voted out. And this year, some of the more liberal folks in the Democratic Party were able to get some interesting things passed, some votes that I saw come through. The big one being that they voted to abolish superdelegates for the next, or they wanted to vote to abolish superdelegates for the next election. Bernie folks, I'm going to speak directly to you at this point. I don't get the superdelegate thing. I really don't. The party elected officials, or whatever it is, the party leadership and elected officials, I think is what they're called, the PLEOs. You got to let it go. You got to let it go. First of all, it's a intellectually dishonest stance to take, because it's the only way that you can get your guy to win at this point. If you think that Bernie still has a chance, it's flipping superdelegates. So you'll need them. So the idea of getting rid of them for the next election isn't making a whole lot of sense to me. Number two, the party, they're there for a reason. They're there to sort of normalize and to kind of smooth out the party process, to keep intensely populistic elements kind of more under control. You are advocating a reform that is going to make the Democratic Party a more radical place, and for these folks, they love it. But it's not good for long-term politics on either side when this kind of stuff happens. You got to knock it off. You got to knock it off. The party leadership has a role to play in each election. It's a minor role, and that's pretty much what I have to say about it. Hillary was winning every other metric anyway. She didn't need necessarily the superdelegates to win, and so voting to abolish it looks like sour grapes. The other things. Voting to legalize go ahead.
No, I mean, my
and the Republicans have unbound delegates who can vote their There's basically super delegates too.
Yes.
It's just the Democrats get so much attention for it.
Yeah, well, Democrats don't like anybody who's considered elite unless they're part of it. Number one. Number two, I don't understand that super delegate thing. You explained it to me, but I don't understand why it's such a big deal. My last thing is if Bernie was the one that got all the super delegates, and Hillary's wanting to get rid of them, would your opinion be the same?
Well, that's a similar thing happened in 2008, where Hillary was making the argument that the super delegates should come over to her, but she didn't vote. She didn't want to vote to abolish them. Except that back in 2008, she was winning the popular vote, and the lead was much smaller than the lead she has over Bernie Sanders. So at least it was intellectually honest, if a long shot and probably a dumb argument to make in 2008. This is even worse, in my opinion.
Right. Now, the next step, I know that you have a personal investment in it, is the legalization of prostitution.
Absolutely.
So, tell us more about what they want to do.
My side business? No. You've seen this movement in a lot.
Maddie's back there doing this.
You've seen this movement a lot in there's sex worker advocacy groups and special interest groups around the country that have been making the argument for a long time, and you see this in other countries as well. India had a big vote on this not too long ago, that prostitution, that sex work should be legalized to bring women in from out of the shadows, to protect them from abusive clients and people and also their pimps and managers who take advantage of them, treat them like slaves while they're going out and hustling for a little bit of money. It can be regulated. Health concerns such as STDs and HIV can be mitigated, and by normalizing it, or by normalizing a profession that's happening anyway, we can maybe bring some people in and to other areas of work, while protecting the ones that still are looking to do that. So there are good arguments for it, but when you vote to sort of advocate for that in the party platform of a major political party in a swing, except still conservative type of state like Iowa, and you would maybe know this through your own work better than me, but what sex work in Iowa looks like. I'm sure that you've dealt with some young women that have had those kinds of issues in your career. It seems, while I support the principle that they are espousing, I don't know that this was the venue for it, because it's certainly gotten a lot of jokes, as we kind of made earlier in the segment.
And the thing is you can I just got done clowning around a little bit about prostitution, but the truth of the matter is, human trafficking is sex work. That's mainly what it is. That's what we focus on. The problems are, the problems with sex work is that fundamentally it is very addicting. And if you're going to legalize prostitution, then you need to set up a system where these women not only get checked physically, but mentally. Because what I see around the world, because, I travel around the world and I do a lot of work with orphans, and unfortunately, if you're a young woman who's attractive and you don't have a family, it's easy. It's easy to make 10, 12 times the amount of money you would make doing things honestly in sex work. And that includes, strippers. That includes people, porn actresses. What these women all have in common, number one, some of them aren't desperate. They enter it with eyes wide open. Yeah, I understand what I'm getting myself into. I want to make my money. I want to have a better life. But the problem is twofold. A lot of these women do wind up getting snuffed in the course of their career. So there's a safety element. Two, the women that don't get snuffed, these women really do have PTSD. And the third thing is, how would you like to have PTSD from your job, yet you're so addicted to it you cannot leave under any circumstances? So while I understand why the Democratic Party did this, and, I would agree with you about probably not the right venue, at the same time, for me, if you're going to legalize it, you also have to establish the help to get them off the pole, so to speak. The other thing, and the last thing I'm going to talk about, is sex work, because I know way too much about it, and nobody should know. Nobody should have in their head what I have in my head about this. The problem is that the most lucrative sex work out there is stuff that will never, ever be legal, period. That includes child prostitution. That includes all kinds of weird stuff that people do. And I appreciate, in fact, bravo to the Democratic Party, right? You don't hear me say that very often. At least I'm bringing that up. But at the same time, you need to have that back thing. Sorry to take up so much time.
No, that's okay. Well, the other one, legalization of all drugs, this is just a sort of the extension of the movement that Democrats have been pushing for a long time to treat drug issues, drug addiction as more of a medical issue and less of a criminal issue, which you've also heard me completely support. I used to be a full-throated advocate for the legalization of all illegal drugs in this country.
I think that was bad phrasing and bad timing right after our sex work.
So, sure. So. But it's, I'll tell you what, I'm hardening. I'm my position is changing just a little bit
there's not a way you can win on this one. mainly because there are reasons that drugs are illegal. Not all of them are good reasons, but particularly with methamphetamine, while I agree that more focus should be paid to healthcare outcomes as opposed to criminal justice outcomes, there's nothing out there that tears up a family quite like methamphetamine addiction. That is correct. It's unbelievable, and it's unbelievable both how a personality can change almost completely overnight, how fast it gets on you, how there doesn't seem to be any safe dosage of methamphetamine that any person could take to be a responsible user. Now, for example, marijuana, I know that you and I disagree. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk about drug legalization right after this break. Thanks for tuning in. We couldn't do what we do without you. Joe, I think it's cute that my hair is coming down. What do you say, Maddie? Yeah, see? So we also want to thank all of our sponsors. Des Moines Anesthesia, 515-574-6442. Halo Capital, Des Moines Interestrates.com. Lubinas Law Firm at lubiнаslawfirm.com. And Bertrosian Associates. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back right after this break. We'll be talking about